Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're nearing the end of Birdeye View 2025. The last couple days have been packed with some incredible insights and sessions, but we're not done yet. We have an amazing discussion lined up for you today where we'll dig into how AI-powered insights can enhance the patient journey and patient experience. I'd like to quickly introduce the panelists today. We have Lindsay Garcia, Customer Success Manager on our enterprise team, and Shabib Sheikh, Senior Vice President, Customer Success on our small business team. Hello, folks.
Hey, Gino. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Shabib. Nice to be here.
Likewise.
So a little bit of housekeeping here on the front end. Just a reminder that you can use the chat to say hello and share some thoughts. You can submit your questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll have experts behind the scenes who will be helping answer those questions that you may have. For extra resources and learning materials, you can check those in the Docs tab. The session will be available on demand as well. So, Lindsay, you've been working closely, you and I have been working for quite a few years together now, and you've been working closely with our healthcare providers. What significant changes have you noticed in how providers approach patient experience today compared to just a few years ago?
I would say that something that I've really noticed is that our customers are going beyond reviews and ratings, right? So the reviews and ratings are a really big piece of their marketing strategy, really important, but they're getting a little bit more in depth with the actual insights and the patient feedback that they're receiving. And now that we have all these great AI tools, they're able to explore that feedback more efficiently and get kind of a deeper understanding about patient sentiment. I think using the insights tools for really actionable feedback at the clinic and provider level is also a big change. So I have a lot of customers who are maybe only focusing on clinics, only focusing on providers, and now they've sort of started marrying those and understanding that both are really impactful to the business and both, need to be monitored, and we need to have an understanding of how patients are responding to both aspects of the business. Something else I would say is that I've noticed a strong emphasis on NPS scores, using them to incentivize and bonus providers, making sure that that's part of the overall retention strategy, and making sure they can carry those great reviews on with them as well. I think by using surveys to gather feedback rather than just a review request, they're able to, you're able to get feedback on patients, doctors, practice managers, and get it all out to the marketing teams and make sure that everyone has a really good understanding of how the practices are performing.
100%. And you working with our, tenured existing enterprise clients, and then me on the new business side, like I'm getting questions that I hadn't necessarily heard over the, last several years that I worked at Birdeye. It's not just about how do I get reviews, it's how do I get the feedback and how do I understand everything that's being said, both on the public facing review side and then also on the private survey side. So I think what you said is definitely relevant. How about on the patient expectation side? How have patient expectations changed, particularly around digital interactions?
Yeah, so I think patients are getting more vocal about their preferences, right? So if we're surveying them too often, if there are too many times that we're reaching out to them on top of the business's other communications with them, so they're getting appointment reminders, they're getting follow-up text messages, and then on top of it, they're getting communications from us. So they're telling us, hey, I don't want to get this, or I'm getting this too often, or like, hey, this was confusing to me, and letting us know how to better enable those communications. I think that on the customer side, it's like they need a really flexible, adaptive way to engage with patients. And so we're able to quickly kind of, audit the campaigns, see where those changes need to be made based on that direct patient feedback.
100%. And, Shabib, Lindsay mentioned that patients now have stronger preferences about how and when providers communicate with them. How can AI help healthcare providers keep up with and adapt to these evolving patient expectations?
Absolutely, Gino. And I think AI is one of those powerful tools that we just have to keep pace with those changing expectations, right? For starters, it could take repetitive and manual tasks away from the staff, and which reduces inefficiencies. It helps to prevent burnout. Teams just have more meaningful patient interactions. AI also enables a 24/7 virtual assistance and proactive outreach motion, right? So we're not just waiting on patients to contact us, we're actually anticipating their needs and engaging them on their terms. And the real magic is in the personalization. AI allows providers to tailor communication and care with a level of precision that simply wasn't possible before. Patients today can expect timely, relevant follow-ups, and they're looking for care experiences that feel unique to them. So they're tailored. That demand for deeper personalization is only growing, and AI gives us that ability to deliver in a consistent scale.
And Lindsay, small but mighty marketing teams, they're relying on that AI for efficiency, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think most of the teams I work with are just like you said, small but mighty, and there's just a few people really having to dig into this information. So having a tool like Insights AI, Competitors AI, and having like a way to really distill the information down into, an AI summary of survey responses, an AI look at like what categories and keywords are coming out of reviews and any feedback that's coming in is super, super helpful. I think the AI also helps retain patient history. You're able to kind of go back and see for this location, like, has this always been an issue? Is this improving? Is this something that we need to be tracking? And I think there can be, sorry, you guys. I lost track for a second. For patients, there can be confusion sometimes. I have a good example of a customer that we were sending a survey and a review request, and the review request had a very similar subject line, or the text message may have had very similar language. And so being able to look at that and say like, oh my gosh, at this location or in this region, all these patients are really confused, or maybe it's like an older population, like, hey, I think I already filled this out. Can I go back in here? Just being able to get a quick insight like that is super helpful to our customers.
100%. And then we have these AI chatbots, right? And handling those after hours triage communications led to a smoother patient flow and smoother patient experience. So I'm 100% hearing that when I'm joining our mutual customer calls, Lindsay. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I would also, sorry, Gino, just add to that about the AI chatbot that I have seen, the AI responses be a huge benefit to some healthcare organizations. I think that, I have some urgent care centers who really rely on those AI responses and, the information they're able to pull from those to be able to see, where are their gaps? Here's a question that we're not able to answer usually. Let's adjust that. And again, just kind of on the fly, be able to make quick adjustments that lead to higher or better results.
Yeah, and also doing it all while not having to increase overhead, right? Like, how slick is it for these healthcare practices that they don't need to have somebody manning the chat 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? So providing that, knowledge into AI, make AI smarter on the front end, and upload the infinite number of FAQs and actual content directly from the website, and have the AI scrub that to get those answers. Gosh, it's a game changer for my prospects that are coming in and communicating with us about that. They just don't want to spend the money on the overhead for additional headcount. So spot on. So clearly AI has huge potential to help healthcare providers meet these rising patient expectations. But Lindsay and Shabib, from your experience, what challenges or hurdles are healthcare providers running into when trying to enhance their patient journeys?
So I think that some things that I've noticed as big challenges for our providers, our healthcare customers, is that we need to make sure that we can integrate correctly with their EMRs, PMSs, right? Make sure that we're able to connect and receive all of their contacts. So Birdeye supports so many different patient management systems that it's not usually an issue to do that, but we have to kind of work with the customer, make sure that if it's an SFTP, if it's an API, if it's both, right, we're able to pull in those contacts. Then successful integration often results in noticeable increases in review generation and survey responses. Sometimes even if we switch from an SFTP to an API and make sure that the data is super accurate, I see an increase in responses, response rates, and all the data that's coming in. So that's a big thing that we try to work with our customers on. Another thing is that we're really on top of HIPAA compliance. So whether it's, a review response, if there's little things in there like mentioning a patient by name, or saying, we're so sorry for this experience, we don't want to admit fault in a response. So catching those kind of things is super important, and making sure that the way we're pulling in data is HIPAA compliant is super important to our customers, and can be a challenge that I think we are able to advise them on.
Fantastic. Shabib?
So one of the first challenges I'm seeing regularly is its mindset. There's a lot of fear mongering among staff, right? So, there's a lot of fear among staff that AI means job replacement or losing control over their patient relationships. Some people call that AI dooming, right? So education is key here, helping teams understand that AI is really just a productivity booster and an efficiency enhancer, not a substitute for the human role that builds trust with patients, because that's where humans come in, right? So another big hurdle I'm seeing is that the technology landscape itself is a challenge. Many providers are working with fragmented systems that are siloed data, which makes it tough to create a unified patient view that's so critical to a seamless journey, right? So there's also the question of maintaining a brand voice. Providers want to make sure that they, even with AI, is helping with their communication, that it still sounds like their authentic self, like their brand, that it's empathetic, it aligns with their values. And finally, there's regulatory uncertainty. With upcoming, CMS, FDA, AI guidelines still evolving, HIPAA compliance, that there's still a lot of caution in how fast organizations are willing to move. So balancing innovation and compliance is going to be an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, and what I hear on the new business side, when I get folks coming in and really know they need to evolve, they need to adapt to AI, but they have their main concerns is around data privacy and security when it comes to AI integrations, meaning, are we just a layer on top of an LLM, and are we using their data to train an LLM? And, we make sure we address that very early and often in those conversations, that is not the case with Birdeye. So given these challenges around integrations, compliance, and AI misconceptions, Shabib and Lindsay, what are some practical steps healthcare providers can take right now to address these issues and quickly improve their patient journeys?
So one of the quickest wins is to create a true digital front door, whether that's web chat, telehealth entry points, or some other easy way for patients to connect with you on their own terms, right? It makes it frictionless. It starts the journey off on the right foot. From there, automating to proactive communications, things like appointment confirmations, reminders, follow-ups, surveys, they also have an immediate impact. It keeps the patient engaged, it reduces no-shows, and it signals that you're anticipating their needs and not just reacting to them. Both of these steps, like all combined together, they don't require full-scale AI overhaul, but they lay the foundation for more advanced personalization and automation down the road. So while addressing integration and compliance concerns, also in addition to all that.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, going beyond, I think I love the idea of a digital front door. This is how you're meeting your patients, but going beyond reviews and then stepping, further into the interactions with the patient. So surveying patients and being able to collect that data. So whether it's a pulse survey and you're literally getting a pulse on what's their feedback, how has their experience been at different points in their journey, to like just grabbing an NPS score. You can do a demographic survey, right? Find out of one customer who's just looking to find out like, what is driving you to make an appointment? Why did you come to us? How do we differentiate from our competitors? So there's a lot of different ways to pull in patient feedback and then use AI to really, again, distill it down and just make it digestible for even to pass along to providers.
Yeah, I recommend that all the time. That regular pulse check throughout the multi-visit patient journey, i.e., you have a procedure. That procedure doesn't, stop on that initial visit, but many practices stop that customer engagement or patient engagement at that initial visit, right? So it doesn't stop at that initial review request. We could be missing or overlooking all the steps through that patient journey, from the initial procedure to the follow-ups to the, again, final assessment and completion of that procedure. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Shabib, what was that? What do you see that providers are underestimating the impact of that pre-visit stage?
So I think the providers are underestimating that pre-visit stage. So long before the patient even walks through your door for care, they're forming opinions based on online reviews, other people's experiences, and that's helping shape their notion of what they're going to get, what their expectation is. Those reviews can be the deciding factor also, right? Whether someone books that appointment in the first place, and yet they're often treated such as kind of like an afterthought. So that's why I think it's really important to start paying attention more what's going on in that before they even enter your front door. Another gap call is the invisible patient. These are the ones who never leave any feedback or lodge any complaints. They just quietly disengage and go elsewhere. If you're only listening to the loudest voices, you're going to miss a huge segment of your patient base. So finding ways to surface and understand those silent experiences is critical to improving the overall patient journey.
Yeah. I would also say that, like, to that point, Shabib, I think, like, only listening to your loudest voices. So overemphasizing the importance of maybe like negative reviews as opposed to positive reviews, or even vice versa, can be kind of a detriment, because you just want to make sure that you're gathering all the feedback. Even the passives can be really helpful. Even if they're giving you, 3 stars, they're not really complaining a lot, but they might next time, right? So still following up with them and making sure that that's something that you're really focusing on, I think is super important to make sure that everyone is heard, and you're able to connect that feedback directly back to actionable insights, referral strategies, right? Use those positive voices in the correct way. Make sure that you're asking them to ask their family and friends about, or give them recommendations about based on your experience. I think that that's super important as well, just to make sure that, like I'm saying, all of the feedback is recognized.
One thing I hear you say all the time on calls, Lindsay, is automate, 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 right? So
Yes.
Underutilization of automation tools to reduce that team workload.
Yeah, and I think the automation, honestly, it's such a big, important piece of it. And I have so many customers who can be resistant to it because they're like, I don't want every single patient to get a request. What if some of them are mad? And it's like, that's okay, right? First of all, patients aren't going to trust a business that has a perfect 5-star review score. It's just not realistic. But just taking as much work as you can off of yourself and letting the automation and the AI do the work for you is so important.
Absolutely. And one thing that AI can definitely help prevent is those emotionally driven reactions from staff members, right? Responding to negative feedback by, again, we're standardizing and now formalizing responses with the brand voice. So everything's on brand. It's industry compliant with, making sure we have those guardrails in place with the AI. There's nothing worse than, you going out and reviewing or researching a provider and like that patient had an interaction with whoever it was that responded to that review publicly, because they had that emotional tie to that patient and that patient's experience. So AI can definitely help prevent that emotionally driven reaction.
Yeah.
So how exactly, can AI help providers close these gaps and capture those then missed opportunities?
So AI is really powerful at closing those gaps, right? It can help surface things that often go unnoticed. So, example, using natural language processing, AI can sift through reviews, surveys, and call transcripts, and unstructured feedback and hidden themes like long wait times, billing frustrations, accessibility concerns. It also solves one of the biggest challenges providers face, which is fragmented insights. By consolidating data from multiple systems, AI creates a unified patient view, which means providers can act proactively, fixing issues before they even become reasons for a patient to leave, and spotting opportunities that improve the patient experience at every step.
100%. What I noticed with Birdeye Insights, it does provide that digestible, actionable data, right? So I'm normalizing all this content that I'm getting in the form of my reviews, in the form of my survey responses, and it goes beyond just scores and ratings and NPS, to align bottom performing locations with top performing locations. And then more importantly, what are the outcomes, right? So the outcome that AI can tell a primary care physician practice, for example, is that, how can I get my bottom performing locations to now start to perform like my top performing locations? What actions do I need to take? So super beneficial there. Lindsay, could you share an example of a healthcare provider that has significantly improved their patient experience with Birdeye?
Yeah, I have one in mind. This is a company that has over 300 practices. They were taking kind of a long time to get onboarded. They're kind of like organically, gradually pulling in their providers and getting individual opt-in. And so we kind of had to drill down to like, what's the problem, right? Why are they so hesitant? And we realized that there was just a lack of education around the actual process. So once we got their eyes on it and said like, hey, look at this is how the flow works. This is how we are trying to, make sure that you're not getting that negative feedback online. This is how we're using your data. This is how we're pulling in feedback. They're much more comfortable and willing to hop on board. We were able to show or give them like a 300% increase in reviews over time. And every month this year has been their best month ever. So every time we onboard a few new locations, they get a big bump. And then the providers are, thrilled with the results. And I think the way that we achieve that is just with the buy-in that came from educating providers, clinic managers, and even some like leadership stakeholders, and also celebrating internal wins. So showing like, look at this location has increased their reviews 500% all of a sudden because they're asking all their patients. And being able to do like a quick case study, right? Like, hey, this location's not doing so great. This one's doing amazing. The one that's not doing so great is almost always because they're not automated. They're not in the review request program. And then it gives them a little bump to be like, oh, maybe I should do that. Look at this competitor that is doing so great. So that's been a huge success for one of my customers.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing it. It reminds me of many times when folks come to me at the initial stages of their interactions with Birdeye, and I need to become that trusted advisor. And many times I hear, oh no, I don't want to ask all my patients for a review request. And I need to hopefully do a good enough job to earn their trust to be that advisor. But once we start to talk and dig in a little bit and having a strategy to proactively make sure we're asking all of our patients, whether they're going to be happy or disgruntled, ask them all. Because having a strategy in place to proactively route that negative feedback directly and internally, as opposed to, we know the folks that have a bad experience are real quick to go run to a place like Google, whether you ask them or not. So why not ask them? Provide that alternative path to still get that feedback, that very valuable feedback, but it doesn't necessarily tarnish your online reputation. thus significantly reducing the volume of those public complaints.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, I think that companies, especially healthcare companies, can be kind of hesitant to respond to those reviews, especially negative ones, because you don't want to admit any fault, right? You don't want to accept any blame. But just even acknowledging it shows, prospective patients, that you care and that you're not just saying thank you for positive reviews. You're addressing all different types of feedback. And if there is a negative comment, if there's a complaint, it's being resolved. So they're not just going to leave you hanging. And I think sometimes, they say, well, we're going to take it offline. We don't want to deal with it online. But as Shubib said, it's your digital front door, right? People are looking at your reviews to decide whether or not to use your business. So showing that you care about all feedback is super important.
Yeah, and as a consumer, I completely 100% understand that you're not going to please all of your patients 100% of the time. But what I'm more concerned about or caring is that you care, that you are responding, and that you're publicly showing empathy to a patient that had a bad experience, right? That's going to hold a lot more weight to me than if I only saw, all 5-star reviews. So real quick, let's quickly address some common questions we get. Is AI implementation safe and HIPAA compliant?
So yes, I would say yes overall. It's super safe, super HIPAA compliant. We're only able to use AI with the data and the information that we're pulling in about your business from your patients. So, we're not generating anything, we're not skewing it in any way. So it's very safe. I think it's very easy to implement, especially since we already have so much great data from from reviews and surveys and patients.
And how can providers ensure that AI generated feedback is aligned with their practice's unique brand voice and tone?
So there's a great tool now in Birdeye. The brand section, you'll see it in the settings of Birdeye, where you can tell Birdeye exactly how you want us to speak on your behalf, how you want the AI to generate responses. So if it's a social post, if it's a review response, anything that's coming out of Birdeye using the AI will be in your tone, in your voice. You can even tell it, make sure that there aren't these different types of remarks, make sure that it's polite, friendly, upbeat, and just ensure that, it matches anything else that you're presenting publicly.
And how can they scale AI solutions across multiple locations without losing that personal touch with each location needs?
So AI can really handle repetitive tasks. Your team can focus on those like more personalized interactions where it matters the most. So even though it's, for your overall brand, we want to know like, what's your brand voice? What's the tone of that? You want to be able to look at location by location, what people are saying and how they're being perceived. So I think that, even though we're going to be, bringing in that brand information for the overall maybe parent brand, each one of your brands and your locations is still going to get that kind of personalized touch. And you're able to kind of modify and make sure that each one of their voices are represented.
As a small practice, how can providers begin integrating AI without overwhelming their resources? What are their first steps?
So think of AI as like a plug and play ally. It's not just an enterprise only beast, right? With lightweight cloud hosting modules that you can pretty much build anything you want with. Even a 2-provider clinic can deploy a chat-based triage, automated reminders, and sentiment analysis in days, not quarters. So no data science PhD required, just an internet connection and a will to elevate that patient care.
So what are the most common challenges small practices face when adopting AI, and how can they overcome them?
So for small practices, the first big hurdle is often mindset, as I mentioned earlier. Overcoming that fear of change, fear of the unknown, and a fear that they may not have that technical expertise to make AI work for them. It can feel intimidating if they think it requires a full IT department. The good news is the solution doesn't have to be complicated. Today's user-friendly cloud-based AI tools, just like how Birdeye provides our offering, is designed to help you so you don't need advanced skill sets to get value from them, right? So pair that with proper training, ongoing support, a good CSM like Lindsay, you can ease that transition and build confidence and start seeing benefits quickly without disrupting your practice's day-to-day operations.
So what we heard today is patient experience demands clear visibility and AI delivers actionable insights. AI addresses efficiency and scalability challenges while maintaining compliance with, HIPAA. Providers must engage with patient sentiment proactively and not just reactively. Crawl, walk, run approach. Start simple. Digital front door, reviews, automation, then scale. Birdeye provides a unified, scalable solution tailored for healthcare providers. So thank you everyone for joining our discussion on elevating patient outcomes with AI. I'd like to go ahead and invite anybody in the audience today to schedule a Birdeye demo, download related resources from the Docs tab, and obviously stay back for the following sessions. Thanks so much.